everybody. Welcome to another episode of Spritz of Wisdom. Let's begin, as we always do, with my sip of the week. These are my highs and lows of the previous week living here in South Italy. Starting with the highs, the sun came out. Oh my goodness. If you listen to my previous two podcast episodes, you will know that we've had around 2 weeks worth of rain here in the Salerno province. It's been pretty bleak and dreary, to say the least. But over the weekend, the sun came out. And it's here to stay for about a week, I think. We might have a few showers in between, but pretty much from now on in for about a week, we've got some sunshine. So this is a wonderful thing because as much as it's really cozy at this time of year when it's raining, to have it consistently for like 2 weeks is a little bit too much, in my personal opinion. So I'm really grateful that the sun has come back out because it does make you feel better and it just lifts the spirits of those around you. And I think it just makes you see things in a more positive way as well when it's sunny. Now, the sun here in December, because I'm actually recording this on the 1st of December, feels like the hazy spring sunshine. So it's actually glorious. And I have to pinch myself that I am in the month of December because normally December sun in other countries can still feel a bit chilly, So it's really wonderful. So a huge high for the past week is that. Also, the fact that I have actually started working on my 2026 vision board. I love doing vision boards. In fact, I do them every single year. I give myself a word of the year and I give myself like a slogan or quote of the year to accompany that word. Now, 2025, my word of the year is evolve, and the accompanying quote is nothing changes if nothing changes. Trust me when I say so much of what is on my 2025 vision board has come true. And I'm going to be diving deeper into that in a future episode of Spritz of Wisdom. I think this will be my final episode of 2025 that I will record this in, and I'll be reflecting on what 2026 is going to look like as well. So stay tuned for that. It's a really fantastic process, like sitting down and really getting clear on what you want the next 12 months of your life to look like. Now, some people decide to do it for the entire year. Some people have shorter vision boards, so like 3 months or 6 months, because that feels something that's a bit more tangible. But however you decide to do it, I really think it's a powerful concept. And some people might consider it to be a bit woo-woo, but I think that if you don't have an idea of what you want to achieve in your life over the course of the next 3, 6, or 12 months, how do you know that you're ever going to make any progress? How are you going to track what you're doing? How are you going to make the decisions that are going to take you closer to your goal and not further away if you are not clear on what your goal is to begin with? Like, it's super important to have focus. And I kind of think that without a vision board, people just kind of float through life and they don't really achieve very much at all because they don't really know what they want to achieve. So I think it's a super important process. Now, in terms of my lows of the past week, I have one, and it's the fact that comparisonitis bit me hard this past week when I've been kind of doom scrolling on social media. Social media is a wonderful thing. And I have been looking at it quite a bit recently in terms of preparing my goals for 2026 and thinking about the things that I want to concentrate on. However, we forget some things when we look at social media, especially when we pit ourselves against people in the same kind of niche or doing the similar thing to us. We forget sometimes that we all have very, very different experiences and we've all started at different points in our life. So, for example, I've been comparing myself to fellow founders and entrepreneurs, but these people are way more successful because they've been doing it longer, or they've had like significantly better opportunities, or they've just had different privileges compared to me. And so it's almost futile for me to be comparing myself to these people because we are not the same and we did not start the same way. So I think it's just something really, really important to remember because I did get stuck in that trap over the past week. And at points, it made me feel a little bit like, why am I even doing this? But you'll be happy to know that it was a very fleeting thought because I quickly corrected myself and was like, it's because you're comparing yourself, Claire. Like, when you're not comparing yourself, you're very happy with what you're doing. So little reminder for all of us, really, less comparison, more focus on ourselves, and also less consuming, more creating. This has been a message that I've seen repeatedly on social media over the past week, in the sense that don't spend hours watching things, hoping that you're going to get inspired. Take that time and actually use your brain to inspire yourself, because I promise you what comes out of that moment of creation is going to be far greater than the moment of consumption. So yeah, a really interesting low from the past week, but lots of significant lessons that I can take from it. So let's get into the full pour of today's episode, which is actually inspired by my 2026 vision board because my word of the year for 2026 is going to be success. And the accompanying kind of quote that goes with that is success is a decision. I love this because let's talk about this. Everything in life is a decision and a choice. And so often in life, people give away their power by blaming external circumstances for the fact that they can't make much progress in what they want to do, for the fact that their life doesn't look the way that they want it to, for the fact that they haven't moved to Italy yet, if that's your goal. Except we have more power and control over that situation than we often like to admit. Now, if we look at the concept of moving to Italy, for example, that is a decision, okay? And if you want to have a successful life here in Italy, you're going to need to be very mindful of the decisions that you make. If you decide that you're going to throw yourself wholeheartedly into life here, you're going to be willing to learn and be forever curious and be accepting of the conditions of life here and the reality of everyday life, then I have absolutely no doubt that those decisions are going to lead you to having a successful life in Italy. However, if you do the opposite and you do the negative version of each of those, so you're not willing to learn, you're not interested in accepting things the way they are, you constantly want to be in battle against life here in Italy, you're not happy to change, then of course your life is not going to be successful here in Italy. Now, success, I should probably begin by saying this, is a very subjective term, much the same as saying that something is expensive is subjective. What success looks like for me could be very different to you and vice versa. But if we're going to look at success in the fact of like living in Italy, having a comfortable life, feeling happy, feeling that you've made the right choice, then I would say that if you are integrating, you are accepting things, you are trying to improve yourself every day, you're going to achieve that version of success. Now, the way it plays out in other aspects of life, not connected to Italy, is, for example, language learning. If I had €1 for every student who tells me I don't have time to study, I'm so busy, even when I tell them about this concept of consistent learning, not trying to do the traditional age old 1 hour study sessions that we all know are not really applicable or relevant in today's life when you've got a full time job and other responsibilities, but trying to find 15 or 20 minutes and people still say, oh, I don't know if I can. I just kind of think, well, you just don't want it. It's a decision that you've made. Because let me tell you, every single one of us can find 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes maximum a day. It's just we choose not to focus on that. We choose to spend our time in other ways. Everything is a decision. Your success at learning a language is a decision. It's a decision to decide that you are going to prioritize things differently in your life to be able to dedicate the time to learn. It's a decision in your life that you are perhaps not going to doom scroll for 20 minutes a day, but instead you're going to do something beneficial towards your goal, like listen to something in the language of your choice, do some study, doing some games in that language. You are going to improve your life in that way through making that decision. Everything is a decision. And so many people want to blame external things. I'm working too much. I'm tired. We're all tired. We all work a lot. And this is the biggest illusion that people have about life here in Italy, is that people just kind of have this piano life, especially here in the south of Italy. Honestly, I think people here work the hardest that I've ever seen. They work long hours. They're continuously working. It's a really strong ethic. And I feel like this is a bit of a paradox for how people feel life really is here in the south of Italy. But we all work hard, but everything is a decision, because amongst those moments of working hard, you also have downtime. And it's how you're using that downtime that really shows you how committed you are to your goal or not. It's this. I think for me, I am such a big advocate for taking personal responsibility, and actually admitting that success is a decision is part of that. I am not one person to be like, oh, it's because of this that I haven't got this. It's because of that, I'm stuck. It's because of me. I'm the person that needs to do something. I'm the person that needs to learn something, to improve something, to change something, to do things differently. It's me. And yes, sometimes I can't change things. Sometimes I can't have that impact. It depends on what I'm referring to. But essentially, it all comes down to the decisions that we make in our life. Everything is dependent on that. And so is success. And so it's just a really, really kind of vital thing to always remember. Don't fall into the trap of just blindly blaming external circumstances for the fact that you don't have the things that you want. You really have to look at your life and the decisions that you're making to understand the reason why you don't have it. And it's this, to put it quite bluntly. And so, my chin chin of the week is that I want you to start taking more personal responsibility. When your life isn't going the way that you had hoped, or people are taking advantage of you, they're not respecting your boundaries, or you're not making much progress with a goal, like moving to Italy, for example, what are the decisions that you are making that are keeping you in that position? Because I promise you, there's a fair few decisions behind the fact that you're not making progress, or people are not respecting you, or the fact that you are not living here in Italy yet. And you need to unpack those decisions, because when we can course correct, when we can realize that we've been making the wrong decisions and we start to change them into the right decisions, that's when everything changes for us. And I kind of feel now in December, the last month of 2025, is the perfect moment to be making those kinds of reflections, because then you can hit the ground running in January and start making those significant changes in your life and the different decisions that are actually going to change your life for the better. I will see you in the next episode.